Have you ever had one of those mornings where just getting out of bed feels like you've already run a marathon? You sit up slowly, the joints creak, the energy isn't there. And as much as your heart wants to start the day, your body whispers, "Not yet." If you've felt that, you're not alone. So many of us, once we cross 60, start wondering if this feeling, this sluggishness, is just how it's going to be from now on. But here's something worth asking. What if it doesn't have to be? What if you could feel stronger, more awake, more alive? Not in some dramatic, unrealistic way, but in a gentle, steady return to yourself? What if your energy didn't have to fade quietly, but instead could be rekindled like an ember glowing back into flame? Let's begin by asking something honest. When was the last time you felt truly energized? Inside and out. Not just from a good night's sleep. I mean a kind of energy that hums through your spirit. That gets you up, not because you have to do something, but because you want to. That feeling of having something to look forward to, of waking up and thinking, I can handle today. I'm here and I'm ready. Now, if it's been a while since you felt that, don't worry. That doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you've been busy living, giving, holding space for others, maybe pushing through chronic aches, caretaking, grieving, managing stress that no one even sees. You've made it through a lot. That kind of strength takes energy too. But here's the beautiful truth. Energy isn't gone forever. It's not locked away. It's not something only the young get to have. Energy, real, sustainable, life-giving energy, is something that can return. Maybe not in the same way as before, but in a wiser, quieter, steadier way that fits your life now. That's what we're here to talk about, because after 60, your energy matters more than ever. Not just so you can move more or do more, but so you can feel more. So you can be fully present for the things you still want to do. Whether that's gardening, traveling, playing with your grandkids, volunteering, writing, walking, laughing, or simply waking up and not dreading the day ahead. We don't talk about that enough. We talk about staying safe, avoiding illness, managing medication. But what about feeling alive? What about wanting to get up, not just being able to? Here's the truth most people never say out loud. It's never too late to feel good again. Energy isn't something you lose because of age. You lose it because no one taught you how to support it as you change. The rules for energy in your 40s are not the same as in your 70s. The good news is, there are ways, real, simple, doable ways, to shift how you feel, one small step at a time. And the even better news? You don't have to become someone new to feel better. You just need to return to the version of you that feels supported. I remember talking to a woman named Ruth, 68 years old, who once told me she felt like her body had betrayed her. I used to wake up with a list in my head, she said. Now I wake up and just want to go back to sleep. She thought maybe she was being lazy or depressed, or maybe this was just aging. But after we spoke, she decided to make one tiny change. She started walking for 5 minutes each morning. Just 5. At first, she had to force herself. But by week 2, she noticed something strange. She was sleeping a little better. Then she added a glass of water right after waking up. Soon, she wasn't crashing in the afternoons anymore. Now, she walks for 20 minutes every day, cooks her own meals, and recently joined a community group where she leads a poetry circle. She told me, I didn't get my 20-year-old energy back. I got something better. I got my hope back. That's what energy really is. It's not just physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the fuel that makes you want to participate in life. And the first step to getting it back is believing you deserve it. Because you do. You deserve to feel vibrant. You deserve to feel capable. You deserve to say yes to your own life again and again. So let's set the stage. In this journey, we're not going to talk about extreme diets, expensive supplements, or unrealistic routines. We're going to talk about the real things that shift your energy gently, powerfully, and sustainably. The kind of changes that meet you where you are, not where you used to be. We'll look at what drains your energy that no one warns you about. We'll explore how your body communicates fatigue and what it's asking for. We'll find out how food, movement, rest, and even joy can become your allies again. Because you're not broken. You're just entering a new phase, and every phase of life brings its own rhythm. The key is learning to hear it. You don't need to be fast. You don't need to be young. You don't need to keep up with anyone. You just need to feel like yourself again. That quiet strength, it's still inside you. That spark of motivation, still there. That laugh, that curiosity, that love of life, all still within reach. And maybe today is the day you stop waiting to feel better and begin walking gently toward it. Because no matter how old you are, no matter how tired you feel right now, you are still here. You are still becoming. And there is more energy in you than you think. There's something frustrating about feeling tired when you haven't really done anything. You wake up groggy. You shuffle through the morning, you take a nap, and still feel foggy afterward. It's not exhaustion from a big workout or a long day of yard work. It's a kind of weariness that feels like it lives in your bones. And when that becomes your everyday reality, it's easy to assume the worst. Maybe this is just what getting older feels like. But what if that's not entirely true? What if your energy hasn't disappeared? It's just asking you to listen differently. Let's take a gentle look at what really affects your energy after 60, because understanding it is the first step to reclaiming it. You see, energy in our later years is a complex thing. It's not just about how much sleep you got last night or what you ate this morning. It's about a delicate interplay between your body, your emotions, your lifestyle, and even your environment. And the tricky part is, many of the things that affect your energy happen slowly, quietly, and without obvious warning signs. Let's talk about one of the biggest culprits: hormonal shifts. As we age, both men and women experience changes in hormones that regulate everything from mood to metabolism to how well we recover after movement. For women, post-menopause often brings fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone that can affect sleep quality, stress levels, and body temperature regulation, all things that play a role in how energized you feel. For men, the slow decline in testosterone can influence motivation, focus, and even the desire to be active. But here's the catch. These changes don't always show up in obvious ways. Sometimes it's just that nagging fatigue that never seems to lift. Sometimes it's brain fog. Sometimes it's just not feeling like yourself. These subtle signals are easy to brush off, but they're your body trying to speak. And then, of course, there's the role of chronic conditions. Things like arthritis, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or thyroid imbalances don't always knock on the door loudly. Instead, they steal your energy slowly, like a drip from a faucet. One day you're out walking with a friend, and the next you realize you haven't gone out in 3 weeks, not because you didn't want to, but because your body just didn't cooperate. It's not your fault, and you're not imagining things. The good news is, recognizing these patterns doesn't require a medical degree. It just requires a bit of awareness and a willingness to track your own rhythms. Here's where it starts. Pay attention to your energy like you would your finances. If you had a bank account that kept draining unexpectedly, you'd want to know where the money was going, right? Energy is the same. Instead of seeing your tiredness as just getting old, try asking yourself questions like, when do I feel most awake during the day? Are there foods or activities that leave me feeling drained or more alert? What happens after I talk with certain people or spend time in certain places? Am I drinking enough water or just sipping coffee and tea all day? These little check-ins matter. They help you start seeing patterns. And once you see the pattern, you can begin to gently shift it. One of the most overlooked reasons for low energy is dehydration. I know, it sounds too simple. But our bodies are over 60% water, and every cell, tissue, and organ relies on hydration to function. As we age, our sense of thirst becomes less accurate, meaning we may not even feel thirsty when we actually need fluids. The result? Fatigue, dizziness, confusion, and a big dip in stamina that no amount of sleep will fix. Just sipping a glass of water every couple of hours can make a bigger difference than most people expect. It's like putting oil in an engine. It doesn't solve every problem, but it helps everything else run smoother. Now let's talk about the emotional side of energy. Because while physical causes matter, our thoughts, stress, and emotional state play just as big a role, sometimes even more. Loneliness, for instance, is one of the quietest energy drainers in later life. When we don't feel connected or purposeful, our motivation fades. We stop reaching out. We stop making plans. And slowly, the body follows the mood. That's not weakness. That's biology. The brain and the body are always talking to each other. When we feel inspired or hopeful, we stand taller, breathe deeper, move more freely. When we feel forgotten or stuck, our muscles tense, our shoulders slump, and our energy dips as if responding to the sadness inside. So when people say, "You just need to exercise more," or "Try sleeping earlier," but they don't ask how your heart is doing, that's missing half the picture. Here's something most doctors won't tell you. Your energy is a mirror of how safe, connected, and empowered you feel. So if you want more energy, it's not about doing more. It's about restoring the balance between body, mind, and spirit. That means honoring your needs. That means tuning in instead of tuning out. That means asking for support when you need it, and giving yourself grace when things feel harder than they used to. Let me share a story. A man named Lionel reached out to me once. He was 74 and had always been active, but suddenly, he couldn't get through the day without falling asleep in the chair. He thought maybe it was just age, but after tracking his habits, he realized he was eating erratically, barely drinking water, and was feeling deeply isolated since moving to a new city. We didn't start with supplements or workout routines. We started with calling his daughter more often, joining a community library group, and setting reminders to drink water twice a day. Within a month, he said, "I don't feel young again. I feel present again. I'm back in my own life." That's the shift we're looking for. Because energy isn't something you push through. It's something you create by understanding where it goes, why it leaves, and how to welcome it home again. If energy is the fire that keeps you going, then food is the wood that feeds the flame. It sounds simple, right? But when we talk about energy after 60, we don't always think of food as the first place to look. We might assume that slowing down is just part of aging, or that what we eat doesn't matter all that much anymore. But here's the surprising truth. it matters more than ever. Not just because of calories or nutrients, but because as your body changes, your fuel needs change too. What once gave you energy might now weigh you down, and what you once ignored, like a simple glass of water or a handful of almonds, might now hold the key to feeling alert, grounded, and ready for your day. Let's talk about how your plate can become your power source, not your energy thief. One of the most common things I hear from people over 60 is, "I just don't feel like I have the same stamina I used to." And when I ask what their meals look like, they usually give a small shrug and say, "Oh, I eat okay." But okay isn't always what your body needs anymore. As we age, our digestive systems become more sensitive, our metabolism slows, and our bodies become a bit pickier about what fuels us and what drains us. That big plate of white pasta with garlic bread? Delicious, sure. But for many seniors, it spikes blood sugar quickly, then crashes just as fast, leaving you more tired than before you ate. A sugary cereal in the morning may give you a burst of mental clarity at first, but it's often followed by an energy slump by late morning. On the flip side, a balanced plate with colorful vegetables, healthy fats, protein, and whole grains releases energy steadily throughout the day. It doesn't shout and crash. It hums quietly, keeping your engine warm and running smooth. You don't need to become a health nut. You don't need kale in every meal or to swear off dessert forever. But you do need to understand the difference between food that supports you and food that silently steals your spark. So, where do you begin? Start with what adds life to your body, not just what fills your stomach. Imagine a plate with roasted sweet potatoes, a piece of grilled salmon or chicken, a side of leafy greens drizzled in olive oil, and maybe a handful of berries for dessert. That's not just a meal. That's a message to your cells. I care about you. I want you to thrive. Add in whole grains like quinoa, brown rice, or oats. These give your body complex carbohydrates, which break down slowly and keep your blood sugar stable. Pair that with proteins like beans, lentils, eggs, tofu, or lean meats, and you're giving your body what it needs to rebuild and maintain muscle, support brain function, and stabilize your mood. And let's not forget fats, the good kind. Avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, and fatty fish like salmon are rich in omega-3s that reduce inflammation and help your brain stay sharp. Fat is not your enemy. Fat is fuel, when it's the right kind. Now, I can hear you thinking, this sounds great, but I don't have the time or energy to cook like this every day. That's okay. You don't need to overhaul your whole life overnight. You just need to make small, consistent swaps. Instead of sugary cereal, try Greek yogurt with fruit and a sprinkle of flax seeds. Instead of chips, try a handful of almonds and a boiled egg. Instead of skipping lunch and then overeating dinner, try having a midday smoothie with spinach, banana, and a spoon of peanut butter. Tiny changes, big shifts. And here's something most people don't think about when they talk about food: hydration. I mentioned it before, but it's worth repeating, because dehydration is sneaky. It doesn't always show up as thirst. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue, brain fog, dry skin, or even low mood. By the time you feel truly thirsty, your body has likely already been operating at a deficit for hours. After 60, your sense of thirst naturally dulls. So even if you don't feel parched, your body still needs water, regularly, throughout the day. Keep a glass or bottle near you at all times. Set reminders if you have to. Flavor your water with lemon, mint, or cucumber if that makes it more appealing. And if you're drinking coffee or tea, which are mild diuretics, balance them with extra sips of water. You don't need to chug a gallon a day. But most people over 60 aren't drinking enough to support optimal energy. A little awareness goes a long way. Now, let's talk briefly about sugar. Because for many of us, sugar isn't just a treat, it's a comfort. It's in our morning muffin, our afternoon snack, our evening dessert. But sugar, especially the processed kind, acts like a sparkler. It lights up fast, shines brightly, and then disappears in a fizzle, leaving you more tired than before. The more your body has to chase energy highs and lows, the more depleted you feel over time. That doesn't mean you have to give up sweetness. Nature offers plenty. Apples, dates, berries, a bit of dark chocolate. The goal isn't to live in restriction. It's to live in rhythm. To eat in a way that honors how your body feels after, not just during the meal. And food isn't just about energy. It's about joy, about pleasure, about connection. The act of preparing a nourishing meal, of sitting down to enjoy it slowly, of sharing it with someone you love, that too gives life. So maybe your next step isn't to follow a strict diet or count anything. Maybe it's to ask a new question before every meal. Will this give me life or take it away? If the answer is give, even in a small way, you're already on the right path. Because food isn't just about what goes into your body. It's about how it makes you feel after the last bite. It's about what it helps you do with your day. It's about the energy you carry into the world because you chose to take care of yourself. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional, to listen, to try, and to keep trying. One delicious, energizing bite at a time. There's something beautiful about movement. Not the kind that breaks records or wins medals, but the kind that brings you back to yourself. The stretch of your spine when you stand up from a chair. The soft rhythm of your feet on a quiet morning walk. The sway of your arms as you dance, not for anyone else, but just because the music feels good. That kind of movement is powerful, and it's never too late to return to it. Let's talk about how gentle activity can rebuild your stamina. One step, one stretch, one breath at a time. For many of us, the word exercise brings up old memories, gym classes, strict routines, or a pressure to perform. And let's be honest, after 60, that kind of thinking can feel not just unappealing, but intimidating. Our bodies don't move like they used to. Knees ache, backs stiffen. We start hearing warnings like, be careful, more often than go for it. But here's the truth. Movement isn't about what you can no longer do. It's about discovering what still feels good. And stamina, that quiet strength that helps you carry groceries, climb stairs, or chase a giggling grandchild. It isn't built in the gym. It's built in everyday choices. It grows in the gentle repetition of showing up over and over for your own well-being. You don't need to lift weights or jog miles to improve stamina. You just need to move often enough and lovingly enough to remind your body, I'm still here. Let's do this together. Now let's walk gently into what movement can actually look like. After 60, after 70, and beyond. It starts with intention, not a goal, not a number, but a feeling. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel after I move? Lighter, looser, more awake? For some, the answer begins with walking, the most natural movement we have. It requires no special equipment, just a pair of comfortable shoes and a willingness to begin. Whether it's 5 minutes around the block or a stroll through your garden, walking is the doorway to stamina. Then there's stretching, not the athletic kind that strains or burns, but the kind that invites space back into your body. Gentle stretches in the morning can loosen tight joints, awaken sleepy muscles, and give your circulation a boost. It's not about becoming flexible. It's about becoming fluid again. For others, the path might lead to water. Swimming or water aerobics offer resistance without impact, movement without stress. The water supports your joints, cools your body, and gives you freedom that land sometimes takes away. And then there's yoga, slow, intentional, rooted in breath. Not the Instagram version, the real version. The one where lying on your back and breathing deeply is still practice. The one where you learn to listen to your body's boundaries and meet them with compassion. What all these movements have in common is one thing. They are sustainable. They're not fads. They're not trends. They're not built on punishment or performance. They are invitations to reconnect with your own strength, however it shows up. And the best part? You get to choose what's right for you. No one else gets to decide what progress looks like in your body. If you danced for 5 minutes today and smiled while doing it, that's movement that matters. If you stood up and sat down 10 times from a chair, congratulations. That's strength training for the legs and heart. There's no single right way to move. There's only the way that helps you feel more you. Now here's something most people never tell you. Stamina is not just about muscles. It's about trust. Trust in your body. Trust that it can carry you. Trust that it won't collapse under you if you treat it kindly. For many people over 60, fear becomes the biggest barrier to movement. What if I fall? What if I get hurt? What if I push too hard and make it worse? Those fears are valid. And yes, if you're managing a medical condition or haven't moved much in a while, it's always wise to speak with your doctor first. But movement doesn't begin in the gym. It begins in your breath. In the quiet moment where you tell yourself, I'm ready to try. Try with guidance. Try with support. Try with gentleness. But let me share a story. There's a man named George, 73 years old. He used to be a runner in his youth, but after a hip surgery in his 60s, he gave it all up. For nearly a decade, he didn't do much more than walk from the couch to the mailbox. He said he felt like his body had betrayed him, and he stopped trusting it. But one day, his granddaughter asked him to dance with her in the living room. Just a few steps, a spin, a laugh. He was out of breath in minutes, but he didn't fall. He didn't break. In that moment, something opened. He started moving 5 minutes a day, marching in place during commercials. Then he added light stretching, then short walks. Today, he leads a weekly Tai Chi class at his senior center. He says he still has pain sometimes, but he also has power again. And that's the point. Stamina isn't about lasting forever. It's about lasting long enough to live well. It's about being able to stand a little taller, to walk a little farther, to sit a little longer without stiffness, to wake up and know that your body is still your ally, not your enemy. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait to feel ready. Start with curiosity. Start with the question, how can I move today that honors where I am, but points gently to where I want to be? Start with 5 minutes. Start with your favorite song. Start with a chair, a smile, a breath. Just start. Because your body, it remembers how to move. It just needs you to believe it's still worth the effort. And you're still worth the effort. There's a kind of tiredness that no amount of walking, eating healthy, or even good company can fix. It's the kind that lives under your skin. The kind that whispers in your mind when everything's quiet. The kind that follows you from room to room, no matter how well you care for your body. It's not physical, it's emotional. And often, after 60, it's the stress we didn't know we were carrying that's quietly draining our energy more than anything else. Let's talk gently about what it means to restore your energy, not by doing more, but by letting go of what weighs you down. We don't always think of stress as something we need to take seriously at this stage of life. After all, the kids are grown, the deadlines are gone, and life has slowed down, right? But stress after 60 doesn't always come from the outside. It comes from the inside. It comes from memory, regret, uncertainty about health, financial worries, changes in the body, and the quiet loneliness that creeps in when fewer people call or stop by. It comes from adjusting to a new pace of life and not always knowing what to do with the silence. That kind of stress doesn't show up as a meltdown. It shows up as exhaustion, as fog, as nights spent tossing and turning, as mornings that feel heavier than they should. And yet, so few of us talk about this. But here's the truth. If you want to feel more alive, more present, more energetic, you don't just need to move your body. You need to tend to your nervous system. You need to find moments where your mind can exhale. One of the simplest ways to do that is to create a small ritual of stillness in your day. A time where nothing is required of you, not as a reward for productivity, but as a necessity for being human. That could be 5 minutes of sitting by a window, watching the trees sway. It could be a breathing exercise. It could be listening to music that soothes you, or taking a slow walk with no goal except to feel the air on your skin. You don't need to meditate for an hour. You just need to remember what it feels like to rest while still awake. Because rest isn't only about sleep, it's about relief. And when your body feels relief, it begins to heal. When your mind feels relief, it stops sending the signal to your nervous system that you're in danger. And when that happens, your energy isn't spent on survival. It's finally free to go where it belongs, toward connection, joy, and vitality. Now let's talk about sleep itself, because nothing restores energy like true, deep, nourishing sleep. But for many people over 60, sleep becomes elusive. Either you can't fall asleep, or you wake up at 2 a.m. and can't get back. Or you sleep, but wake up feeling just as tired. And so the cycle begins. Tired during the day, dozing off in the afternoon, wide awake at night, and frustrated in the morning. Sound familiar? This isn't a personal failure. It's a combination of biological changes, lifestyle habits, and sometimes even hidden stress. After 60, your body produces less melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep-wake cycles. Your sleep becomes lighter. You wake up more easily. And if you're not moving much during the day, your body might not register enough contrast between day and night. So what can you do? First, give yourself a gentle rhythm. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Avoid caffeine late in the day. Create a wind-down routine. Dim the lights, play soft music, or read something calming. Nothing too stimulating. Make your bedroom a space that feels like rest. Cool, quiet, and peaceful. And if you wake in the middle of the night, don't panic. Don't force sleep. Try getting up, doing something soothing for a few minutes, then return to bed. The more pressure you put on sleep, the harder it becomes. Think of it like trying to catch a feather. It lands easier when your hand is open. Second, use movement and light to your advantage. Exposure to natural light during the day, especially in the morning, helps regulate your body clock. So does gentle physical activity. A walk after breakfast, stretching in the sun, even gardening. These cues help your body know when it's time to be alert and when it's time to wind down. Third, unburden your heart before bed. One of the simplest ways to sleep more deeply is to journal before you rest. Write down your worries, your to-dos, or simply 3 things you're grateful for. The act of putting things on paper tells your brain, you don't have to hold this overnight. It's like turning down the volume on your thoughts. Now, none of this is magic. It won't fix everything overnight. But sleep, like energy, is not something you earn by being exhausted. It's something you invite by creating space for it to return. And when it does, everything changes. You wake up clearer. You move more freely. Your emotions feel more balanced. You laugh a little easier. And slowly, your stamina rebuilds, not from willpower, but from wholeness. Here's what most people never say aloud. Your worth is not measured by how much you do. It's measured by how well you care for yourself. Rest is not laziness. Slowness is not weakness. Silence is not failure. It's restoration. It's sacred. And after decades of doing for others, you deserve to reclaim it for yourself. So, if you've been trying to fight your fatigue by pushing harder, maybe it's time to do the opposite. Maybe it's time to soften. To trust that you are not falling behind. You are finding your own pace. To know that energy is not something you chase. It's something you protect. And the more gently you protect it, the more of it returns to you. You've come a long way, my friend. Your body has carried you through so much. Your heart has survived what others may never know. You don't have to fight anymore. You just have to care. With the same kindness you've given everyone else. Now, it's your turn. And when you wake tomorrow, refreshed, restored, and real, you'll remember, you're not just surviving, you're still rising. One breath, one night of good sleep, one quiet moment at a time. Bye, and see you next time.